Hey dear, it's Tanya. Welcome to my channel. It's year 2023 and some people still live and work as if we were still in the early 20th century. Alright, today I'm going to tell you all about soul work, working from your soul, and how the work has changed, has evolved in the past 50 to 70 years, and especially how you get to work from your soul. In order to understand how the work has evolved and when it comes to the type of work that we do today and that we no longer do today, it is very important to first understand the practical aspects of work evolution. This is how I would call it. Let's take a look at this right away. So our grandparents, great-grandparents as well, they used to work, they worked for survival, right? Remember, your great-parents, they probably had to go to work in order to put food on the table, in order to raise their children, in order to just make ends meet and survive, and etc. Now, your parents probably did not have to work for survival anymore because that has already been taken care of by their parents. So your parents, what they wanted to work for or strived for was a certain standard of living, right? They wanted to have a house, a car, proper schools for their children, you, etc., etc. So that was then from survival to standard of living, or should I rather say from survival to standard of living, you're up. But what's happening nowadays? What are you working towards? Is it the survival? Is it the standard of living? Probably not, neither or. What you are working towards is a quality of life, is being able to spend your time with your children, with your hobbies, traveling, spending your days outdoors in the pool instead of working 9 to 5. It's also to just be able to sleep in when you want to, or to party when you want to, etc. So that's a different type of work or different objective, so to speak. Your survival and your standard of living has most probably been well taken care of because you are now watching this video and you're able to think about the next level in the Maslow pyramid, right? Now that we know that practical aspect of work evolution, let's take a look at the type of work, how it has changed. So just think about Industrial Revolution, how that changed how we function as a society, how we approach work. Our ancestors, they mostly had farms, they all worked with their hands, so that's the first step, working with your hands. And when factories came into play, people still mostly work with their hands, although it was already starting to be automated. And still, it was a lot of working with your hands. It was a lot of repetitive work, a lot of boring work, and that's how the parallel with survival comes together, right? So survival, working with your hands, mostly, yes, okay. The next was, and the Industrial Revolution, there are several bouts, several stages, of course, several rounds if you prefer. But the next big step in our evolution as humanity was the digital revolution, was all about technology and computers. It started good 30 years ago, and about in early 90s, computers started to become available to the greater population. Maybe that's around the time that you became familiar with computers. You started maybe playing games on the computer like I did. I remember my dad had a few and was working with, back then, Corel Draw or whatever you would call it. Like a kind of, old style Photoshop. Anyways, that was the computer or the digital revolution, and that was all about working with your mind. Sure, it was a lot more creative, a lot less boring, a lot more interesting, but it was still working with your mind, right? Machines, system, automations, that was the main point. But what happens now? We are at the verge of another revolution. That is what I call the heart revolution. Working from with your hands is the thing of a past. Working with your mind is kind of a thing of a past, kind of a thing of a present, but if you're ready for the next step, then working with your soul, with your heart, is where you need to go. Not only in your work as being attuned with your intuition, with your higher self, with your heart and soul, but also just every step that you do in your career, in your job, in your passion, in your life, in your how you approach your personal growth, how you focus or how you manage your challenges, your mental health, all of these things. Follow your heart. This is the next natural step in our humanity, and I'm just inviting you to jump on board, to jump on the train, because it's a fun ride. Let me give you 2 examples why this is such a fun ride. The first one is about my languages that led me to my marriage. That's a long story short, but if I tell you just a little bit so that you can actually understand what I'm talking about, 15 plus, 20, almost 20 years ago, when I started studying, I wasn't able to decide whether I wanted to have English or French as my third language. I have master's degree in 4 languages in translation and interpreting, and in Europe you usually have a mother tongue and educational language if that is not your mother tongue, if you're studying abroad, and then a third language. I wasn't able to decide. I picked both, English and French. And little did I know, was this choice that I followed my guts without knowing, right, back then. Little did I know, was this choice going to lead me to one day come to Montreal, to one day meet my husband, right? And what I say, the rest is history. So that's about your life. But then when you think about your work, even more important, an example here, about 10 years ago, I was approached to work as an interpreter at an international fair, a congress, and I said yes. And it was like, I'm not sure. I just said yes. And then I started working with this company as a translator/interpreter for the next, 6-7 years, until they approached me, my husband and me, to become their official distributor for Canada. And now we're generating consistent 5 figures every month. So one simple decision is bringing you to the next step, to the next step, to the next step. You don't know where you're going, right? But you do want to follow your intuition. You do want to follow your intuition. Otherwise, we would not be making multiple 5 figures with that company. We would not be together even if I had ignored my intuition, if I had ignored my soul. That is why working from your soul is so crucial. And my clients, and also all those who are in my Facebook group, I'm guiding them to really connect to their soul, to be led and guided by that higher self that you all have in you, right? So, my question for you is, and put it in the comments, I'm curious to see your answers. What is that one thing that you've been wanting to do, that you've been invited, guided by intuition, by your soul to do, and you're just afraid to say yes to? You're afraid to follow it. I'm just asking you to put it there. You don't have to do it necessarily, but just be honest with yourself and share it with us, with me in the comments, what that is. How can you say yes to living with your soul, from your soul? I love you all. See you next time. Thanks for watching.
I think it would be pretty cool if you subscribed. Also, my daughter Sia gets a tickle every time someone likes a video. So if you love babies, well, you know what to do.